Hello, I'm Lindsay Rich, and I teach at Sheridan High School. I was just going to give y'all some ideas, what I do in my food safety and nutrition classes. I'm by no means an expert on the content, but I think I know it pretty well. A lot of y'all have asked me to see what my setup looks like in my room, and I was just going to do that first and let y'all kind of see what I work with daily. And then I'm just going to kind of talk to y'all about certifications, what book I use, the content that I teach, and just some of the projects that we do in class that the kids seem to enjoy. A lot of my class is geared towards ServSafe, so I can't share everything that I do unless you are certified in ServSafe. It's just kind of like a rule from the National Restaurant Association. You're not supposed to give out information if people aren't certified or a proctor in ServSafe. So with that being said, I'm going to try to attempt to do this. So this is my layout. I also teach food production. So this is not just for food safety and nutrition, but we have a commercial kitchen set up. This is the area. I'll kind of just walk through. So this is just food prep area, and I got a blast chiller and a warming station. And then this is my stovetop, fryers, oven, and then like I said over here, the refrigerator and freezer. And then I've got 3-compartment sink. And then this door over here is a separate pantry that we store everything in. And it's locked right now, and I also have commercial dishwasher, hand washing sink. If we'll go over here, this is my actual home type kitchen areas. And you can see here too, I've got my certification posted on the wall. Have a huge Hobart stand-up mixer. Oopsie, turn these lights on. But this is my home kitchen setup, and I have 5 kitchens in here. Each of them have a dishwasher. Each of them have a oven stovetop. There's some lights, but this is kind of what they look like. There's the sink, dishwasher, microwave, stovetop, and then we have cabinets, storage. But this is what the home style or home side kitchens look like, and I have 5, like I said. Have a commercial refrigerator, and the freezers over there. We don't use freezer too much, so we just have the one. But this is the setup for that. And I'm going to take you back over to where I was before, commercial kitchen again. Okay, so excuse some of the mess. I have the fatigue mats, anti-fatigue mats sitting right here, and they go in front of the food prep area and the cooking areas. Okay, so this is my sewing setup. We have long tables, every individual spot. I don't know if y'all can see that. Each one underneath here has a plug for the sewing machines. So this seats 20 kids, and then I have some tables up front that will sit 30. The back here is all of the cabinet storage for the sewing equipment and sewing machines. And then this whole wall is storage too. And kids could pull up a chair and sew at this countertop too, or they can lay out their fabric and cut material. So I was going to show just my setup before I started talking about everything else. And I'll explain what I do in class here shortly. Okay, so I failed to show the rest of the area that the kitchen is actually butted up to. So this is, like I said, the commercial setup. And then we can go, there's 2 doors here. So my actual classroom is connected to the concession stand area. So they, like my food production kids, when we make food and sell it, we actually open these windows and push it out to people that buy. But that's kind of what this area is for. And then for future, preparation or whatever, we're going to be able to use this kitchen to prepare the things that are sold in the concession stand area. Okay, so the next thing I'm going to show you is that we are, oh, my card's not working. The hospitality room is what's over on this side, and it's kind of just a hallway that walks into the hospitality room. And then this is part of what we do too. I've had some adults that have came in here, and we served them in this room. We had some of my kids came in here, and we set table numbers up, and we did like a service for these community members. And the lights are not on in the arena, but this glass right here overlooks the arena out in the gym, and you can sit in here and watch the game. But this is kind of cool for us because of the food production side that I teach. We can serve guests in here, and they can eat. There's just a little kitchen set up over here, so like if we needed to warm or wash or anything like that, it's over here too. So like I said, this is this is kind of unique, and I forgot to show y'all this in the first tour video. And then down the hallway, that door right there goes into the arena. And I also have an extra little storage area. This is also mine. This is my chemical closet, I guess you would say. I have one whopping thing of bleach, and that's it. But we have extra washer and dryer in here. And in my pantry, there is another washer and dryer too that's just stackable, and it's smaller. But I can put bigger things, in this one. So this is actually, mine too. So, but this door right here goes out into the arena. I know you can't see it, but that's the gist of the room connecting to everything. So it's quite large. I'm very blessed. It's a lot to have to take care of, but it's way different than what I've been used to in my little bitty setup that I have. This gives students so much more opportunities to be able to work with the community and to provide the services that we learn in class, and just to show what we can do and what we do, and just share our program with the community members. But that was, I forgot to do that at the beginning. I got too excited and stopped recording. But that is, that's the tour of the whole room set up and what it's connected to. Everybody jokes and says that I have a whole wing up here for my setup, and I do. It's crazy how big it is and how much I have to take care of. But this is it. And like I said, if you have any questions, please ask me or email me, however you can get in touch with me. Talk to you soon. Hello. So this is my actual classroom of where we do just, the lessons in here until we can go into the kitchen area. But this is the classroom itself, and then the door obviously goes in there. I've got smartboard, whiteboard, and then I have a little closet office in there for storage and all kinds of stuff. But I was just kind of showing you what I work with here. I'm going to give y'all some ideas, or just in general, some things that I do in the food safety and nutrition class. So after this year, it's been changed to what the courses have to follow now, since, now it says that food safety and nutrition is going to be kind of like an entry level, and then you'll do food production or culinary, and then the third level of those. So I was treating this as a second level class the past couple of years because that's kind of what it was. So I'm just going to tell you what I did in years past and this year, just to kind of give you an idea. I teach from the Serve Safe book, the 7th edition course book. What I do is the first semester we go through everything, and they take notes, and we make like visual pages, and we put them in. I'm going to do this this year. We're going to use a composition notebook, and we're going to paste the little flip charts and visual pages in here for them to be able to study for the Serve Safe exam. And like I was telling you before, I always do this to prepare them for the Serve Safe testing, but this year it might look different considering the level of courses now that we have to do. I always gave the food handler to my FACS kids that wanted to move on to food safety and nutrition. And then the food safety and nutrition kids, I gave them the Serve Safe exam, the ones that wanted to take it. Some of them don't want to. And then the ones that do want to try to take it, they're ones that usually want to go on to the food production class that I teach too. So I teach from the Serve Safe book, and it might be different this year, like I said, but that's what I've been doing. And I teach the Serve Safe information the first semester, and then we usually take the test in January or February, like when we come back from break, so we can review and we can go over everything, and they can take it. And then the second half of the semester, we go over the food and nutrition side of the course. And I do let them cook pretty much every other week, every week, to go along with some of the stuff that we talk about in the Serve Safe book, because if you can talk about it all day, but they're not going to understand unless you actually put it in the kitchen setting. I'll give you an example. When we talk about thermometers, we cook something like chicken, we have to cook it to 165 degrees, and we will test it with the thermometers. On a different day, we've made taco soup, and we will cook the ground beef and everything like that, make it, and then they'll actually freeze it. And we talk about how to thaw out things properly after it's been frozen, and they use the thermometer to test the amount that it is to make sure it's safe for them to eat. We talk about, how to thaw things out properly. Don't put it in the sink, put it in the refrigerator, or you can do it in the cooking process. And that's how the taco soup is made, is from the cooking process after they've frozen. So that's just kind of some things that we do. And some of y'all might not have a budget to do labs as much as I do, but the school here knows that I'm very adamant about them learning how to do things in the kitchen setting and not just being taught in the classroom. So anything that we talk about, I apply to the kitchen setting. There's even stuff about sanitizing and sanitizing the surfaces in the kitchen. We get the buckets, we learn about what the green bucket and the red bucket's for. I make them fill it up with sanitizing solution and soap. We talk about how to let things air dry. But everything that we do in the classroom, we pretty much do that in the kitchen, so they'll learn how to do it in an actual kitchen setting. For the most part, we use the home kitchens for a lot of their cooking needs because of how many I have in each class. And this year, of course, may be different too because of the social distancing guidelines. But we will also go into the commercial kitchen, because when we're teaching about all this stuff in food safety and nutrition, it is talking about a commercial food setting. So they will go in there and do some things to know how to use 3-compartment sink, just the basic stuff in there, and what's the difference between a commercial mixer versus just a home mixer, anything like that. And I always do a demo day on certain labs that I think that they may have some issues with, instead of just saying, okay, go ahead, have at it. But I will show them how to do something the day before they actually do it, and get them an idea of how it needs to look and what it should taste like. So those are some of the labs I do. We do a bunch of stuff. I do a 3-day pie lab around Thanksgiving or Christmas, and we make the dough one day, the pie crust rather, and then we'll do the filling one day, and then the next day we'll bake it. I only have 45-minute classes, so it's very, very time consuming on me to get things done. And everybody always asks me how I get my classes done in 45 minutes. It can be done, but you just have to stay on them and make sure that they're doing what they're supposed to be doing and they're on task. It's a fast-paced environment, but a kitchen setting is a fast-paced environment, so you got to have stuff out quickly. But if you want to know some of the recipes that I use, because your classes are only 45 minutes, I will be glad to share them with you, and I will do whatever I need to show you what we do or what recipes we use. So the couple of last things I was going to talk about is the certifications. So here, like I said, we do food handler and FACS, but like I said, it might change this year depending on what we're teaching. And then in my food safety and nutrition class, we do ServSafe. And if you are teaching food safety and nutrition, I highly suggest that you get certified in ServSafe. And that way you can be a proctor and you can give the exam, and you can get these things that we get that are not, I mean, it's ServSafe based, but you can't access it unless you are certified. So you're missing out on some of the resources if you're not certified in ServSafe. I did proctor. I can give the test. I'm ServSafe manager, and then I'm also certified to give the food handler test as well. So, but that's the things that I wanted to share with y'all. I could talk all day long about it, and I know it's hard to talk to people when you're on the computer, and it's just not as personal. But I have told Molly that I will take any questions that y'all have live on the day that we do the conference. And I'm going to give Molly Stanford props too. She's helped me out tremendously with some of the activities that we do in class. But like I said, I can't talk about all of them because some people are not ServSafe certified, and I can't share that information with everybody that's not. And I hate to be that way, but it's just kind of a rule. And I mean, it is a rule from the National Restaurant Association that you're not supposed to share information to anybody if they're not certified. So for those of you that are certified, I have numerous resources that I can share with you, and just reach out to me. Another thing I forgot to mention too is we do watch some of the ServSafe videos in class. They are a little cheesy, but they get the point across. And what I do is I make the students watch it, and I make them take notes on it. If we haven't covered it in class, or if we did cover it in class, I make them, write it down, and they have to highlight it, because obviously if I said it and the video said it, then it's super important. And then I try to make them write things down that we did not discuss. And that's what they typically go for, and they keep that. I just do like a notebook check just to see if they did it, just to have with their notes, so they can use it to study by when we do take the test. And I also give them practice exams as closer it gets to test time, and those can be downloaded on the ServSafe website too if you're certified. And they will do those a couple weeks before we take it, just to kind of get an idea of what some of the questions are. And I tell my students every year, they just kind of blow it off like, oh, it's not going to be that bad. But I tell them every year that if they're planning on taking it, that it's really hard and that they have to study. And then they don't believe me, and then they take it and they're like, oh, Miss Rich, that was so hard. And I'm like, I told you that it was hard. So they just think that you're trying to pull their leg or try to pull a fast one on them because they want you, or they think that you're wanting them just to pay attention because, it's class or whatever. But they need to be committed. They need to study or they're not going to pass. My pass rate is not that great because I have some that don't take it very seriously. And they think that they can just come in and take it and not even look at anything. And then, they don't end up passing. But I mean, it is what it is. And if you are only allowed so many certifications to give or whatever for your school, then you just need to pick those students that are truly, truly interested in taking the exam. We buy the testing tickets and they're like $36 a piece for each student. I didn't buy, the school bought these books as my textbook. So I have 30 of these for a classroom set. And that way I just use them for each of my classes. And then if a student needs to check one of these out, like if we're doing something that they need to use the book, then I have them numbered on the spine here. This one's mine, so it's obviously not numbered, but I number them and then I'll write down their number and their name and what, they checked it out, and they can take it home and use it to do an assignment or whatever. But yeah, that's basically it in a nutshell. And I just, I hate talking to the camera without people being able to ask me questions, but this seems like it's going to be the new norm, and hopefully it won't be forever. But like I said, I'll answer any questions any of y'all have, and I will do my best to answer them in a way that I can. If you're not ServSafe certified, I can't answer some of the stuff, but like I said, if you are not, you need to be, because this is what we talk about in this class, and it's hard to get resources to go along with it if you're not. But like I said before, we're going to make this composition book this year, and each thing that we talk about, like either it's hand washing, we're going to make like a hand washing sign or something and put in here the steps, and then we'll go to the next page. And then when we talk about the 3-compartment sink, we'll put a little flip chart thing of a 3-compartment sink in here, and they'll do what they're supposed to and glue it down. And then we'll put titles up here at the top to say which one is. And then that way they can take this composition book whenever they get ready to take their test, and they can just flip through it and figure out what they need to look for. Temperatures of food, all that stuff's going to go in here this year. But I did not print everything because, like I said, I can't share everything with y'all. But I was just going to give you an idea of what I was going to do this year, and what I plan on hopefully doing is using this. Okay, so I'm going to stop and shut up and stop talking. I will be on, like I said, during the live questions. So if you have any questions, please ask me, and I will talk with y'all soon. Thank you for listening to me blabble on about everything. I'll talk to you later. Okay, so I'm having to piece stuff together because I forget that I need to talk about something and I stop recording. I was going to talk to you too about equipment that you need. There is a minimum equipment list on the website, and if you're going to start a food production program or a culinary program or whatever, all that stuff is on there to guide you of what you need to order. I had to do this last year because we did a food production pathway, or like that's what our program we added, and I had to order everything that was on the list. It is very time consuming, Just make sure that you go through it 5 times, make sure you got everything that you're supposed to have. And you don't always, like if you're just doing food safety and nutrition, you don't have to have a commercial setup, but it's just nice for the kids to see what it actually looks like in a commercial setting. And some of these kids that I have, they work in restaurant type industry, just coming to school, and then that's what they do at night or on the weekend. And then some of them will also, probably work in the food industry when they go to college, just to make money while they're in college. And then I have some that are really, really excited and they want to do more with it, and they will go to culinary school. I have 2 kids, one this year that really wanted to go to culinary school, and then I have an 11th grader that is really, really interested in culinary school. So he will probably go, when he graduates after this year. But on the topics that we were supposed to talk about, it said, do we get to do, field trips or whatever? We do not go on field trips here much. If we do, it is very, very limited of who gets to go. But my food safety and nutrition class, we don't go anywhere. But when they go to the food production class, we actually, this is so sad. We were going to tour the culinary school in Little Rock, Pulaski Tech, and it was the week we came back from spring break, and you know what happened then. Everything went crazy and we weren't in school anymore. So those kids are super bummed that they didn't get to go actually tour it. But that's one of the things that we do in the food production class is go to the culinary school and tour. Also, I was just going to let you know too, we do a lot of hands-on stuff in here, and that's what I was talking about on that composition book, that to make something visual for these kids. A lot of these topics that we talk about can get quite boring, and they lose interest very quickly. So I try to make it as fun as I can. And that's why I say that I try to tie in any of the standards or what we're talking about to doing something in the kitchen. And that way they actually can physically do and see what we're talking about in the classroom instead of looking like deer in headlights when you're teaching to them, because they don't get it until they actually go in and start doing that. But the majority of my class is that book and the visual pages and the flip chart of when we are in the classroom setting. I have PowerPoints that I go through and have guided notes that they take where they can keep up with, all their stuff. And then when we talk about a specific standard, that's when we get that composition book and the flip chart things and start filling in all that information on that. But I was also going to tell you too, I get way ahead of myself. When we do cooking labs, I have a rubric that I grade them on, because I used to give a rubric to them and they would fill out how they thought they did. But since I have such a time constraint, it's so hard for them to do it that day. So I'm probably going to switch back to that this year, and I'm just going to make them get together as a cooking group. Social distance, I guess, across the room and talk to each other. But they're going to do it the following day or the following Monday, whenever we cook. They're going to do it the following day and fill out their what their expectations and what they thought, how it went, and all this kind of stuff. I have all of this information too, and I can share it with y'all however you need me to. But I have a rubric for that for them to grade themselves. And then I have a rubric that I will but I'll put each kitchen color at the top of the rubric, and I'll write their names underneath it. And I'll go through it, and as they go, and I'll kind of just make notes into the margin, and then I'll come back and actually grade it, and then I'll grade them based on what I saw, and then I can take their grade of their self and I compare it, and if it's within like 10 points or whatever, I'll take, I'll average it out. But if it's way off, then I'll just take mine. Because you know how some of the kids, they'll just grade themselves and said, yeah, we did great and it was awesome, and it really wasn't. But I forgot to talk about the grading, how I grade labs. It's very, very, very hectic for them to grade themselves while they're in there. So that's why I'm saying this year I'm probably going to have them grade themselves when they come back the next day and get together as a group and sit down and kind of gather themselves and be able to do it that way. I used to have them check off stuff as they were going, but it made them take more time with that than it did the actual cooking process. And they have the recipe there so they can follow it, and then they take notes when I do demo. And that's another thing too. They can't just sit there and play around and not pay attention to me. They have to take notes on a piece of paper, and they ask me if they can type it on their phone, and I say no, because phones are not allowed in a kitchen setting, and they're dirty, and we don't need to have them out. And plus, you don't need to have them out anyway, you're at school. So that's my rule when we do demo day. I make them write down all the steps and ingredients, and I don't print recipes anymore. I used to do that because I was nice. But as I've gotten my older age, I've learned that if you make them write stuff down and they have to take the notes, and it's on them to be able to follow the recipe that they wrote down, then that's what they do. And since they are in a group, they each have to write them down. And then like if somebody missed a step or whatever, maybe somebody else in that group has it, but they kind of compare who has the best recipe and who has the best handwriting. And that's what they go by. So that's kind of my rule when I do a demo, because, y'all know how it is. If you just stand up there and talk about cooking and you're showing them how to do stuff, they just go off into la la land. But if I make them write it down as I go, it makes them pay attention better, and they will ask questions if they miss something. So that's mainly why I do that, to make them stay engaged and to make them ask questions if they need to about what needs to be done. But like I said, I make everybody in the whole group write it down, not just one person. That's just my rule. And they know that. If they've had me before, they know they have to write it down. So I failed to mention that too when we were talking about labs. But that was, I was just going to jump back on and say, that's kind of what we do for the grading process of the lab, and how I do it. And if we do go to virtual this year, I had something that I did with my students. We are going to be virtual. Some of us are, like some of the kids are going to stay home. I did this at the end of the year when we were forced to be at home. I had this thing, it was called the pantry or refrigerator challenge. And what they did was they picked 3 ingredients and they had to make something, and they took pictures of them making it with the 3 ingredients that they picked. And they had to fill out this Google form that is created for them, and they uploaded like a collage of the pictures they took while they were cooking, or if they ate it or whatever. But there's all these types of questions they have to answer for it, and then they attach their pictures or video or whatever they did of them making it, and then that's how they turned it in. So if we did do like some of this stuff virtually, I could change that up, and instead of it being a pantry challenge, I could check with the students beforehand, because some of these kids probably don't have all the ingredients, but they could still do something similar to that. I also did, with me, I did this year too. I would actually do the real recipe that we were going to do in class. And for those that didn't have the means to get those ingredients, they did an alternate assignment. And if it was talking about carbohydrates, then I had some type of carbohydrate handout thing that they had to do some research over carbohydrates or whatever. And then that was their alternate assignment. And then the ones that chose to cook, they did that form like I was talking about, uploaded the picture video, and filled out all the questions that they did after they finished it. So a lot of them enjoyed doing that. and you know, it was all of my ones that are going to take the food production class next year. They're the ones that really got into it and wanted to succeed, because I told them that they needed to keep their cooking skills up for them to be able to come back and do this next class. So that's kind of what I was going to come back and say is, you know, if we do the virtual type stuff, I did do some things that were doable online, and the kids enjoyed it and they actually did it. And hopefully this year, if a lot of kids choose to do online, they'll have more participation than I did. And I know some of y'all know where I'm coming from on that. But yes, I was just going to come on and tell you some more things that I think of, because I get to talking too much and then I forget what I was going to say. But like I said, I will share anything that I just talked about with y'all if you need that resource, and I'll share it with you. I have a Google Drive, so if you need me to, I can share all of that information I was just talking to you about through Google Drive, or, you know, just email it to you or whatever. So my email address is Lindsay, Lindsay, Rich, RICH, at Sheridan, and Sheridan Schools with an S.org. And if you need to get in touch with me, I'll answer that one. It's my school email, but we can receive outside email from people, so it's not a big deal. But like I said, if you need anything, please let me know. I'll talk to you soon.